the quickest guide on the secret to growing enough food. Each year on just 1/4 acre of land. You ever get the feeling that the grocery store isn't exactly rooting for your survival? Like one day eggs are $2, the next day they require a mortgage application? And let's not even talk about how fresh produce now lasts about as long as a political promise. But what if I told you that with just 1/4 acre of land, you could grow all the food you need for an entire year? No more dependency on fragile supply chains. No more panic buying canned beans when the government decides it's time for another unexpected crisis. Just you, your land, and a whole lot of food security? And before you say, "But I don't have a giant farm or unlimited time," let me stop you right there. 1/4 acre is about 10,990 square feet, or, for my apartment dwellers, the equivalent of 272 king-size beds. Not as small as you think, right? So, let's break down the science, strategy, and sinister reality of why you might want to start growing your own food. Like yesterday. Section 1. The ugly truth about food supply chains. Here's the first thing you should know. The modern food system is a joke. And not a haha kind of joke, a you're the punchline kind of joke. The average meal in the US travels 1,500 miles before it hits your plate. That's not farm to table. That's farm to truck to plane to truck, again to your table. Over 70% of global agriculture relies on just 3 crops: wheat, rice, and corn. You see the problem? That's like building an entire house out of toothpicks. One bad storm and it's over. The USDA itself, the people who decided pizza counts as a vegetable, admits that food insecurity is rising every year. And let's be real. If you think the government's got a solid backup plan for feeding you when things go south, I have some beachfront property in Arizona to sell you. This is why growing your own food isn't just a hobby, it's a survival skill, and you can absolutely do it on 1/4 of an acre. Section 2. Maximizing yield in a small space. Now let's talk strategy. You're working with 10,890 square feet, but you're not going to just throw seeds around like a toddler with a crayon. No, we're playing chess here, not checkers. Also, did you like and subscribe for the extra green thumb luck in your next project? I can wait. Kidding, but much appreciated to all those who do support me. Big thanks to you all. Let's move on. 1. Vertical growing, the cheat code. Why waste space growing outward when you can grow upward? Vine crops like beans, cucumbers, and tomatoes can be trained onto trellises, tripling your yield without taking up extra land. Ever heard of living walls? It's not just some Pinterest nonsense. It's an actual method where you grow lettuce, herbs, and strawberries up a fence. Maximum food, minimum space. 2. Intensive planting, because every inch counts. Instead of leaving space between rows like a traditional farm, you plant closely together so the crops shade out weeds and conserve moisture. The French intensive method, which sounds fancy but basically means stuff plants real close together, doubles your food production per square foot. Best crops for this method? Lettuce, carrots, beets, radishes, and garlic. 3. Companion planting. Nature's version of a group project that actually works. Some plants help each other thrive, while others are toxic neighbors. Learn who likes who. Tomatoes and basil, best friends. Carrots and onions, they fight off pests together like an organic Batman and Robin. Corn and beans, classic power couple. 4. Perennials, the lazy genius's secret weapon. Why replant every year when you can grow food that keeps coming back? Asparagus, rhubarb, berry bushes, and fruit trees can provide food for decades with little effort. Bonus, the government can't tax what grows in your backyard. Yet. Section 3. How much food can you really grow? All right, let's talk numbers, because I know some of you are thinking, can I really feed myself with just 1/4 of an acre? Let's break it down. A family of 4 needs about 2,000 pounds of food per year to stay fed. Using bio-intensive farming, 1/4 acre can easily produce over 3,000 pounds of food per year. This means not only can you feed yourself, but you might even have extra, so you can trade, sell, or stash some away for when things inevitably go sideways. Let's put it in perspective. 500 ski. Of potatoes equals on 1,500 dubs. That's a year's worth of carbs. 100 sk. FT of lettuce equals 100 heads. Salads for days. 250 skew. FT of tomatoes equals to 500 deep. Sauces, soups, and maybe some homemade ketchup for when the store stuff gets mysteriously unavailable. So yes, this is just a quick startup example of what you're capable of, not mentioning the dozens of crop varieties that can apply. Section 4. Water, because plants don't drink tap. You ever notice how water bills mysteriously increase when times get tough?
Like, oh, there's a drought?
Guess we better double the price of this stuff that literally falls from the sky.
Yeah, no thanks.
If you're growing your own food, you can't afford to waste water, literally. But here's the good news. Your plants don't need as much as you think. 1. Rainwater collection, the loophole. They want to ban. Some states already have restrictions on collecting rainwater. Let that sink in. You can't collect what naturally falls on your own property? That's like getting taxed for breathing. A simple rain barrel system can collect 600 gallons of water from just 1,000 skew. Gift of roof space in a single 1-inch rainfall. Yeah, let that number slap you in the face. Pro tip: if you do live somewhere that's cracked down on rainwater collection, just call it ornamental garden storage. Bureaucrats love fancy names. 2. Drip irrigation, the cheat code for water efficiency. Instead of watering everything like a lawn, use drip irrigation to get water directly to the roots where it's needed. This method reduces water waste by up to 70% and helps prevent disease, because wet leaves equals fungal buffet. 3. Mulch, the easiest way to trap moisture. Mulching your soil with straw, wood chips, or even leaves can cut water evaporation by 50%. It also suppresses weeds, keeps soil temperature stable, and basically acts like nature's insulation. So yeah, if you're still out there watering your garden with a hose like it's 1950, you're doing way too much work. Section 5. Soil health, because dead dirt ill dead plants. Now let's talk about soil, because if your dirt is trash, your food is too. And I hate to break it to you, but most store-bought soil sucks. Modern agriculture has destroyed 50% of the world's topsoil in the last 150 years. That same topsoil is responsible for 90% of the nutrients in your food. Translation? If you're relying on store-bought food, you're basically eating the dietary equivalent of cardboard. So how do you keep your soil alive? 1. Compost, the closest thing to free fertilizer. Take your food scraps, leaves, and yard waste. Let them rot. Boom, nutrient-rich compost. Bonus, less garbage for the landfill, less money wasted on fertilizer, and a very satisfying stick-it-to-the-system moment. 2. Crop rotation, because even plants hate monotony. If you plant the same thing in the same spot every year, you'll deplete the soil's nutrients and attract pests that know exactly where the buffet is. Rotate your crops so one plant's waste is another plant's treasure. Example, legumes like beans fix nitrogen in the soil, which leafy greens love. 3. Cover crops, nature's way of keeping soil happy. Growing things like clover, rye, or mustard in the off-season prevents soil erosion, adds nutrients, and keeps your dirt from turning into dust. The Dust Bowl happened for a reason, folks. Learn from history. Section 6. Pest control, because bugs don't pay rent, okay? So you've got plants growing, soil thriving, and water secured. But guess what? You're not the only one who wants to eat your food. And if you think Big Ag's solution, spraying everything with enough chemicals to give a lab rat superpowers, is the only option, you're in for a treat. 1. Plant decoys and traps. Some plants attract pests on purpose so you can keep them away from your main crops. Example, nasturtiums are basically aphid magnets. Plant them near your veggies and aphids will flock to them instead. Got slugs? A shallow dish of beer works better than most commercial traps. And if it doesn't, at least you have beer. 2. Encourage predators, the good kind. Ladybugs devour aphids like they're at an all-you-can-eat buffet. Praying mantises? They eat literally everything that moves. Want birds to handle your bug problem? Put out a bird bath and they'll handle the rest. 3. DIY natural sprays that actually work. Garlic and chili spray. Bugs hate it. Humans love it. Win-win. Neem oil stops pests in their tracks and is 100% plant-based. Diatomaceous earth, basically fossilized algae that shreds bugs apart at a microscopic level. You don't need toxic pesticides. You just need to think like nature. Final section. Why this matters now more than ever. Look, I don't know what the next big crisis is going to be. Another supply chain breakdown? A financial collapse? A mysterious cyber attack that wipes out the grocery store systems and requires cash only for a few weeks? But I do know one thing. If you can grow your own food, you have power. You're not at the mercy of whatever inflation does next. You don't have to rely on food that's been sitting on a truck for weeks. You have real nutrient-dense food that you control. And best of all, no one can take that away from you. So whether you have a quarter acre, a backyard, or just some space for containers on a balcony, Now's the time to start growing. Because at the end of the day, there are two types of people in a crisis. 1. Those who have food. 2. And those who wish they did. Which one do we want to be?